Good afternoon, kiddos. Today's the day we've all been waiting for. It's time to write your story. You're going to use your flea map to transfer your information over. Remember, your title goes in the orange space, your opening sentence goes in the yellow space, and your closing sentence goes on the other yellow space at the bottom. When you're finished, it should look like this: the title, your opening sentence, and your closing sentence. Next, we need to add the transition words. So if you noticed here, my first transition word was in the beginning. And then we're going to go to add a little bit of information about the street. So it's going to sound like this. It was a cloudy Halloween night when I went trick-or-treating alone in the neighborhood with an old dilapidated houses lining the streets. In the beginning, I was brave, strolling through the spooky streets with fog rolling at my feet. Now, I could have put I was brave strolling through the spooky streets, and that would have been a perfectly acceptable sentence. However, I wanted to go back and add more details. Don't forget, ask yourself, who did what, where, why, how, and when. Can you make your sentences a little bit better? I bet you can. So then we need our green explanation reason. Don't you know it? It's right here. The door was ajar. So we added. That's when I saw the front door ajar on a massive wooden mansion. So as you noticed, I had old dilapidated houses, and now I said it's a massive wooden mansion. So can you picture a broken wooden mansion? That's what I want you to be able to visualize. The next transition word is a moment later. I'm going to follow my arrows. A moment later, and I have to go down to my reason. I heard a cackle. A moment later, the floorboard started to squeak as I tiptoed inside a mansion, and I heard a shrill cackle. Well, I tiptoed inside the mansion and heard a shrill cackle would have been a perfect sentence with adjectives because it's a shrill cackle, like a high-pitched, hurts your ears cackle. But I added, the floorboards started to squeak because I was tiptoeing inside the mansion. I wanted to give you that visualization of what do you hear and how do you do it? So as you're tiptoeing and you hear the floorboards go creak, creak, it kind of sets you up for it to be nervous. And then you hear this shrill cackle or a witch's laugh, and it's a little bit scary. That just creates a little bit more visualization. After that, I felt an icy chill. I froze as an icy chill ran down my spine. That is a perfect sentence. You don't have to add anything else. But authors always add more because the more details you share, the better movie that plays in your head, the better visualization your audience receives. So let's see what I added just to add some extra touches. I saw a wicked witch stirring a boiling potion of toads, bats, and frogs in an iron cauldron. Notice here I made a list, just like we did the last couple of weeks. So if we have a list of three or more things, you have to add commas. I saw a wicked witch stirring a boiling potion of toads, comma, bats, comma, and, because and goes before your last thing, frogs in an iron cauldron. We're going to go ahead and switch over to the next one. We're going to add our transition word, at last. Then we need our blue reason, escaped. At last, fear gripped my insides, and I knew I had to escape before she saw me. I could have put, at last, I knew I had to escape, but that's boring. So can you, if you close your eyes, I want you to hear it. At last, I had to escape. Now close your eyes again, and let's listen. At last, fear gripped my insides, and I knew I had to escape before she saw me. I bet you saw that second one a little bit clearer. And that's what happens when you add more details to your sentences. Then I have to talk about how I slithered away. At last, I could have said, I slithered on my belly out the front door. But instead, I said, my body melted down the wall, and I slithered on my belly until I was out the front door. Because I'm an awesome author, and because you're an awesome author, never be afraid to add more details. It's just another green sentence. I bolted home. If you bolt, it means you're running really fast. I bolted home, comma. I slammed the front door. Second reason. And, this must be a third one, saw my mom inside our warm, cozy home. Again, commas in a series if you're doing 3 or more things. After that, I just read my closing sentence. I was drenched in sweat, but I was home safe in my mother's arms. I will never go trick-or-treating alone ever again. If you remember, that was actually my original closing sentence. I will never go trick-or-treating alone ever again. But I just slithered into my house and I was relieved. So I wanted to share a little bit more information to create better visualization. I was drenched in sweat. So picture running home. You bolted home. You're scared. You're just covered in sweat. But I was home safe in my mother's arms. I can infer that I was safe because I went to my warm, cozy home with my mom. So I was drenched in sweat, but I was home safe in my mother's arms. I will never go trick-or-treating alone ever again. And that is my feeling. That is how I feel about what happened. So that's how you're going to add. How do you feel about what happened? Or what was the conclusion of your problem in your story? I can't wait to read your stories. I can't wait to see if you actually used the adding more details, because this is what's going to make your story pop and be amazing. Can't wait to read them. Let's see what happens if you go into a spooky haunted house.